again in April, 20 million. Then 27th of April, another 60 million. So 60 million within 1 month, if it is not collusion. And this is a matter that in Kisumu is not laughable within the legal fraternity.
Mr. Chairman, you must understand that this pending bills thing was an ongoing revelation of things. And I didn't expect the court to insist on this, but so they did. But that's why we went further. But then between April, between April and April, when is the date again? What's the date of the letter from the Attorney General? Which year?
Completely amazed thing. Probably, as you are saying, it would be necessary to bring in institutions like the EACC only to establish at that particular stage who would really be culpable, because they cannot rule out the aspect of collusion or negligence on the part even of the lawyers that were on record.
For one to deduct money through IPPD and pocket the money. So the
no, CFO, can you address yourself to the question? 5.3 million was collected as rent.
Yes.
The Auditor General says it was not reported as on-source revenue. Yeah. Where was it reported?
It was reported as other source of revenue. So the problem is that it was not reported exactly.
Why didn't you point that to the auditor at the time of the audit? Because you're not going to confuse us. I will not agree that you're going to confuse us over this 5 million.
Where's the camera? Passed over to the committee so that it doesn't become an outstanding issue. Third, Mr. Chairman, as you know, the accounts we are dealing with are from the time that we are not coming to office. Therefore, we shall still go back to those previous accounts. And we are bearing the responsibility.
Payouts from those accounts, and if the beneficiaries could be people who are connected to the county government, so that we close that suspicion around possible collusion. Because having sat here, sometimes some of these payouts are made to advocates, and then within 2 days they have found their way in pockets of individuals who facilitated the payment. I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm saying that we probably might need to undertake an investigation to rule that out.
Mr. Chairman, I will welcome EACC investigating this, because as far as I'm concerned, I can see that it was a result of being court order, and we did even went further. Because of similar cases, I said, no, let's refer to the Attorney General to give us advice on these things. And given the Attorney General's letter, then I don't know how far we go.
Well, the Attorney General's letter came in April after the payment had been done. I mean, if it came before, then we would be saying that you consulted and there was a very logical process. Senator Linturi, you had an intervention.
Just hold on.
Allow Senator Linturi to go first.
Probably they would be
okay, CC.
Thanks, Chair. We have quite a number of pending bills. This is just one of them. There are other legal fees which are amounting to over 300 million. And also there were other court orders of this company over 80 million. So we had pending bills arising from court cases well over 400 million. So when the payment were going on and pressure was being put for us to clear all these nearly 400 million, this is when the governor advised that we should seek the opinion of the Attorney General. So it was not specific to this one. It's only that we had started obeying some court orders, but they were quite enormous that the governors sought the intervention.
Yeah, so this was after the fact. So I mean, that's just you're saying it was to deal with the other issues. So then it cannot be tendered as mitigation on this particular one because it came after the fact.
It came after the fact, but if we did not act, we would have been compelled to continue paying, you see. That's the problem. And my worry was that when I look at just a common sense of it, an original bill of about...
well, Governor, how long would it have taken to seek the AG's opinion? considering the criticality of the matter, I believe the AG would have understood.
Mr. Chairman, you must understand that this pending bills thing was an ongoing revelation of things, and I didn't expect the court to insist on this, but so they did. But that's why we went further. But then between April, between April and April, when is the date again? What's the date of the letter from the Attorney General? Which year? 2019. Yeah, that essentially means that we given the weight of these things, my decision was, look, we can't keep on being pressurized by these pending bills, of which I am personally very, very, very uneasy. Let's seek the attention of the Attorney General to see what he says. Now, if the Attorney General had said, look, that was wrong, you should recover the money, then we would have had a local standard to say, go to court and say, we recover this money, you see.
Senator Linturi?
Yeah, let me say that I think this matter was messed up from the beginning by the lawyers that were handling this case, and even the advice of the advice of the Attorney General, looking at the brief facts that he has mentioned under paragraph 2 and 3, you not have advised anything different or otherwise, because the matters presented to him, if you look at what the attorney had said, was that the company of Wasuna representing the county, and in 2016, right, and a claim of against the county, and the court and it taxed 148,268 million. This is the basis from which the Attorney General will start directing his mind on how to advise. So they already admit before the Attorney General there is already a taxed amount from the court of so much money. And if you look at the ending, is the request is on legal opinion on court decrees and legal professional fees. There is no way that with these facts, the court, the Attorney General will tell you not to pay legal fees or not to obey court orders. So, Professor, I think you're in a very difficult situation, because this matter, as I am saying, was messed up from the beginning. Because even when the tabulation was being done, if I was, for example, the person on this matter, if there was an admission of 23 million which had not been remitted, the way they were taxing or handing interest to the amounts that you owned, Ken or Pundo, that was liable or payable to him, equally, they shouldn't have handed the interest or factored the amount of interest on this amount of money, so that finally it's also been deducted at the final amount that the court will determine. So I think it's completely a messed thing. Probably, as you are saying, it will be necessary to bring in institutions like the EACC only to establish at that particular stage who would really be culpable, because they cannot rule out the aspect of collusion or negligence on the part even of the lawyers that were on record, because this should have been really handled. And secondly, even when you lose cases, immediately what you do before you get further instructions is you make records of appeal. You appeal. But in this particular matter, Professor, you also find that the municipal council then is like given instructions for record of consent agreement before the court. And when you consent and agree, this is how we intend to solve this problem, and then you run away from the consent order, then you really have to bear the consequences. So I think it's necessary, invite them, because we must really get to know exactly what really happened. And
I agree entirely with the Senator. I mean, so I think from our own understanding, we did our best. Good enough, but I think we can be advised further by the EACC.
You are aware Uhuru Kenyatta found himself with the Anglo leasing payments prior to the Eurobonds. I think you do recall that we had to pay off some debts that were suspiciously acquired. Professor Ngeri.
I was going to say, Chair, issues that deal with court judgments can be very tricky. I don't know whether you have faced such a situation. Sometimes on very erroneous and very flimsy excuses, they would want to even to attach your property. And under those circumstances, you just have to comply and then deal with the other remnants of the situations later. And I see Anyang being, Governor Nyong'O being in the same position, that he finds himself with a colossal figure which like Senator Linturi is saying, that figure was not justified. Because really the money due to the lawyer was 15% of 23 million, which probably come down to something else. And I don't know what kind of interest was being applied. And I don't know what kind of taxation was being done. And I think we should take exception, the legal profession, with due respect, that sometimes we go overboard in taxation of fees just simply because there's an entity called county government now involved. I'm sure it was an individual, it would have been a different story.
Professor Ongeri,
when the all trial, all issues are tried, then the court found that only, and I've read it clearly, only 23 million was found due from Ken Pundo, and that was deducted from what he claimed to have owed, which the court found that the county government was owing Ken Pundo, and the 23 million which he was found not to have remitted was deducted. And because of this issue, when it came, because the same response that I had given the Auditor General did not make any change, I accepted my limitation and wrote to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General has addressed himself to that matter. I have a copy of the
is it part of the annexures that you have put before us?
It came after the
could you table that? Could you table that?
I can.
And then tell us what is the gist? What is the gist of the Attorney General's
the gist
response?
Is at paragraph 11 of that advisory, the Attorney General says, in the foregoing circumstances, the claimant's legal fees were duly taxed and adopted as a judgment of the court, and the same is deemed as payable.
Now, Professor, then there could have been an element of incompetence, for lack of a better word, on the part of the legal team internally and those outsourced, or possibly collusion.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know, because I will go by what I see on paper. I mean, the attorney tried his best to...
What the attorney has been presenting here. He's seeking the Attorney General advice after he has done what? Payment. And you could see, even if you go to their figures here, how the payment was done. 29th March, payment was done, 20 million. The same person, Ugejo Lendo. Then again in April, 20 million. Then 27th of April, another 60 million. So 60 million within 1 month, if it is not collusion. And this is a matter that in Kisumu is not laughable within the legal fraternity. And I would seek your advice on how to go about this.
Thank you, Senator Outa. And I know these are somewhat through my mind. Senator Linturi, I know you have applied your thinking to this. Let me allow you to go first.
Yeah, Chairman, I have read the question and the answer that is being provided. And there are a few things I don't think it really hands up, because what the auditor is saying is that Pundo, I think, is Pundo. Ken Pundo was contracted to collect and remit rates to the defunct municipal council. And the basis of payment of fees was on how much that you would collect. And whatever amount of money you would collect, then you would charge 15% of the fees. Meaning, if you do not collect, then there is no money that you should generally ask from the municipal council. And unless, if that is not the basic agreement that there was, then you may be in a position to explain to us how then this debt would arise, or what this miscellaneous case 175 of 2 was all about, to the extent that now you will be able to put in a fee note of this kind of money.
Governor?
On the amount he had actually collected. And when he was not paid, that is when he moved to court. This is an old matter. Now,
who was supposed to pay him?
The then municipal, that's inherited by the county government, the then Kisumu Municipal Council.
What's the date of the when did this matter? This was an agreement of which year? That agreement between the county and Ken Pundo.
It's about 2004, 2005. 2004, 2005. It is the judgment that came around 2017, the final mandatory order by the court that came in 2017, but the matter started way in 2005.
So, Governor, these are liabilities arising from defunct local authorities, which in this case you are compelled to settle despite the other issues surrounding the management of those liabilities.
Yeah, the problem here is that there was a court order, and I think the county attorney has said very well, if it wasn't my choice, I wouldn't pay it. But there was a court order. Court order may be unfair, but it was a court order nonetheless. And I think the arrangement that the municipal council had reached with Ken Pundo was that he would collect money and then he would return 15% of the rates collected as their fees for the assignment. Ken Pundo only collected 40 million shillings and he should have been paid the 15%.
Which was 6 million.
Yeah, unfortunately, from what we see here, he was never paid. So he moved to court to be paid, and things were never settled. So the court case keep on recurring, and in the meantime, he's charging interest. And finally, the court orders the county. I think the first order came when? By the time, this was in April 2017, before we came in. So when we came in, there was already a court order being disobeyed, and the amount increasing. But I think what the county attorney is saying, look, we were put in a position where if you don't reach a settlement, Ken Pundo, now you're going to pay him, you may end up paying him a lot of money because the court order was still there. You see what I mean?
So from the 6 million that Ken Pundo was to be paid, it grew to about 189 million.
So something like, I mean, it looks ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous.
Very ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I remember arguing painfully with the lawyers. But they told me, well, this was a court order. I don't know how you can challenge it or you can appeal it.
Yeah. Professor Ngeri.
The integrated system, the online system. So there are plans that are paid through the city, which has got an online system. And right now, we also had an online system that is actually also integrating the sub-county plan approval. So everything is not paid in cash, but through the online process.
I think the last finding there on controls and governance is about the various systems that you have in place. So we can deal with it at that point. But as things stand, the 6 million on building plans, the 1 million on revenue from hospitals, the 5 million on rent deducted through checkoff, that now adds up to more than 10 million, which cannot be properly accounted for. And I don't think we can take this opportunity to try and account for something that was not accounted for when the Auditor General was on site.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for that. It's quite clear that although the information is there, it did not reach the Auditor General properly, and that you are also correct that in management response, they have described the various systems used, and not necessarily explain the variance in terms of figures, which I think if they go deep into these various systems used and also found out the money that is paid in City Hall and so on, building plans and online, because what happens is that with this e-citizen thing, people can pay directly in City Hall or using other entry points. So it's a question of integrating these various payment points and making that information available to the Auditor General.
Okay, members, let's close that. There are several other... Yes.
By a letter dated the 14th of January 2016, this Wasun and Company Advocates, the firm then on record for Kisumu County Government, wrote to the county attorney informing that the legal fees claimed by Ken Pundo and Company Advocates had been taxed at Kenya shillings 148,249,465.80 and sought for further instructions. Ken Pundo, through the firm of Ogejo Lendo, moved to court, and other certificate of course pursuant to the taxation above reduced to a judgment, and on the 3rd of February 2016, judgment was entered in favor of Ken Pundo and Company Advocates as against the county government for Kenya shillings 148,249,465.80 plus interest at court rates from 7th December 2015. The court allowed parties to agree on mode of settlement. There's a copy of the order. By an email dated the 1st of March 2016, the then county attorney instructed Wasun and Company advocates to record a settlement in respect of the tax amount less the 23 million owed to the county government to be paid on monthly installments. On the second day of March 2016, the court ordered that the judgment and interest pursuant to the said order be Kenya shillings 174,193,122 shillings and 20 cents. Kenya shillings 23,727,199 shillings and 35 cents, being sum due to the respondents from the applicant and being subject of Kisumu HCC number 26 of 2005, originating summons, be deducted from the aforementioned judgment. Kisumu HCC number 26 of 2005 OS be marked as fully settled. The balance of the judgment sum, that is Kenya shillings 150,465,922 shillings and 95 cents, be settled by way of 12 monthly installments of Kenya shillings 12,538,826 and 91 cents from the 10th day of April 2016 and thereafter on or before the 10th day of every successive month until payment in full. On the 19th of September 2016, the county government in part settlement of the debt paid 300,000 Kenya shillings to Kenpunde Company advocates, leaving a balance of Kenya shillings 150,165,922 and 95 cents plus interest. The county government then did not make any further payment, prompting Kenpunde Company advocates to move to court for an order of mandamus by a notice of motion dated the 27th of April 2017. By a ruling dated the 21st of December 2017, the court allowed the application but granted a stay of 60 days. By the time of that ruling, the debt had accrued interest, taking the total to Kenya shillings 189,241,923 and 13 cents. The county negotiated a Kenya shillings 30 million waiver and mutation of interest and undertook to settle the balance of Kenya shillings 159,241,923 and 13 cents by way of monthly installments of Kenya shillings 20 million, subject to availability of funds. Due to competing interests, the county has so far been able to pay only 3 installments amounting to Kenya shillings 60 million, leaving a balance of 99,241,923 and 13 cents. There is therefore no irregular expenditure in the payments made on the 29th of March 2018, 23rd of April 2018, and 27th of April 2018. In fact, had the county not taken the said step, the amount of debt would now stand at about 250 million and accruing interest. The amount of 29,002,730 was in respect of a court order in HCMA number 21 of 2012, way before the subject taxation. The amount of over 40 million was an argument advanced by the county government. Only Kenya shillings 23,727,199 and 35 cents was found to have been due to the county government from Kenpunde Company advocates. The amount was deducted from judgment debt. Amondi and Company advocates. The fee notes raised by Amondi and Company advocates dated 30th of November 2017 and 17th of May 2017 are in relation to the firm's legal fees pursuant to their conduct of the matters on behalf of the county government, that is, legal audit, and Kisumu High Court SR Miscellaneous 84 of 2016. However, the fees notes have not been paid. An amount of 4 million to Amondi and Company advocates on the 24th of July 2017 was not a payment, but a letter alluding to such a fee note. The fee note referred to is for legal audit of Kenya shillings 4,640,000, of which 640,000 was the VAT. Now,
leave it there.
Yes, Chair, I can't citizen. So what we need to prove, to give is the banking.
Yes, see, that was what you are coming to do today.
Yes.
You have not done it, and you don't even appear to be ready to do it, because your explanation there is a description of systems, rather than a reconciliation of the variance. So the Auditor General is right. So the committee, therefore, should make its recommendations on the basis of the findings of the Auditor General.
I think, Mr. Chairman, maybe
from KEMSA, what does it really contain? In my previous experience, some of these may be drugs that have an expiry date of 2, 3, 4 months. Is this your experience in running this UHC, Governor Professor Nyong'O, or you seeing a different story altogether? The kind of the drug kit that comes to these hospitals.
I think the chairman, the drug kit, at least under UHC, I don't think we have experienced drug expiry. KEMSA does report expiry in their own depots, but I don't think they've used those expired drugs to bring them to the UHC program to date.
Thank you, Professor. Members, let's progress. I think.
Can you respond to that, Chief?
Chair, I want you to go through that annex that they have put here.
Clerk, where's a copy of the pack? That we would make, which fortunately is in line with your thinking, that if you want these matters to be neat, separate Jaramogi from the day-to-day runnings of the county government.
But yeah, just on a closing remarks on that issue before the governor responds.
Direct with KEMSA to supply drugs. So the 91 million comes for administrative.
Chair, in total, because now we have two answers. You know, there's a simple question from the senator. How much have you received? They can be in kind, they can be in cash.
Yeah, because you don't have visibility of this, since it doesn't come through Kara. I think it comes direct.
So, Chair, in total we receive 336 million, which is 91 plus 245.
This 336 is not a conditional. That's beside the conditional grant under Kara.
241 or about 240 million is the money they pay direct to KEMSA for drugs.
Okay.
Then as they send 91. So it's a total of about 330 something.
Members, I think there are serious issues.
Those conditional grants that are meant to go to certain hospitals. Now, the suggestion I'm hearing here is like some money now is also being paid directly to the counties without having been factored into Kara. And the other aspect that I find so interesting is that somebody somewhere has to pay for your drugs in KEMSA so that money can be supplied directly to the hospitals. Yeah, I think this could also end up being something like the medical equipment scheme, where these characters are only intended, or their interest is to create business for other people with a view of trying to say, this is what we want to do for our people. I would want to hear from the governor whether before this arrangement was agreed on, or whether there were any consultations, and whether your feelings or your views were taken into consideration.
Mr. Finance will do that.
Chair, the first batch we have received is 91 million.
91 million?
Yes, only.
And you know, then you have a serious crisis, Governor, because when we started the conversation, you remember you had lost 600 million issues. So you lost 600 million on equitable share. You have taken this extra burden of universal health care, serving everyone, including the people of Homa Bay, and you get only 91 million. So the costing and financing model really is important. CFO?
Thank you, Chairman. What's happening? The 91...
Professor, and we initiated this universal healthcare system. It had several steps to go before it could be actualized. I still believe and stand by what I believed then, that this was prematurely implemented without having thought through the stages that were necessary, particularly the financing package of these elements. Now that we are there, and this pilot is on, we cannot go back. What measures have you taken as governors before the whole system is rolled out? Because part of the reasons why we're interrogating you on this matter is that we would like to see the Health Committee of Senate take it up, because health is a fully developed function, and we would like to know what it's going to turn out to be. Have you been able to share these preliminary experiences of resource constraints so that before they roll out the bigger picture, creating a mega problems, that we will be able to really sit down, all the stakeholders sit down, including Senate and National Assembly maybe, and agree on how these resources can be appropriated.
Mr. Chairman, Kisumu, I think we are going to the fourth one in Machakos. These UHC conferences are meant to evaluate the progress we are making, and at every conference recommendations are made to the government, national government, on how best to implement UHC. I do believe that whether it was premature or not, but it was timely. Its time had come. You remember in 2003 or 2004, when we tried UHC, I was Minister for Planning and Charity was Minister for Health, and we did actually manage to pass the bill through Parliament, but it was never signed into law for reasons I don't want to go into. I think that because a step has been made now to implement it, to me that is more important than anything else. Whatever problems we encounter, I'm sure we can solve them. So I do believe that after the fourth UHC conference, we will come up with a much more definitive statement to show the roadmap towards implementing UHC nationally.
Thank you, Governor. And in your next conference, please, when you're involving the Senate,
bears the burden of treating patients from across the Lake region area, even beyond. So to expect us to sustain it with our own county resources is rather too much. But at the same time, given the fact that now there is no charge on patients, were we to ask the Jaramogi to be autonomous, they wouldn't manage it because that own revenue that they were getting in this cost sharing is no longer there. So the thing is that if it's going to be autonomous, the condition of grant has to increase from the national government, because a hospital that is serving a region beyond the county. Now these are the things I think that we should bring to the Senate too, so that we make a global decision on referral facilities like in Mombasa, in Kakamega, in Kisumu and so on, because really it is not fair.
but Prof, with UHC there was on county governments.
Definitely, it is. I mean, this is an experience we have had with all the 4 county pilots.
Would it then have been appropriate, because the UHC pilot is an intergovernmental thing, both levels of government are involved, to have negotiated an adequate subsidy beyond the user fees forgone? Now that you're taking that burden, because you took it upon yourselves to negotiate. If we were to negotiate it through Dora and Kara, it would justify the increased allocations we want to go to the counties. So what were the limitations in doing a proper costing model and then getting it financed by the national government?
No, for one, it was important to carry out the pilot to find out what it entails. Now, part of the thing that we see it entails is that it entails if no other county is on UHC and you only one county in the Lake Region Economic Bloc on that, the tendency is for patients to come there because services are free. I mean, this is a logical thing. That was not really envisaged when it was starting, but now it is there. So we must find a solution for implementing UHC universally, given the experience of Isiolo, Nyeri, Machakos, and us.
Senator Uta, you're in the Health Committee of the Senate.
Because the number of patients in all our facilities have grown up maybe 40 or 50% with the same old exchequer release that we've been having. So it's not this pilot thing has also been a burden to us.
Professor Ongeri.
Yeah, I've always Moi Teaching and Referral Hospitals, KNH. There is so much resource held up at the national level that do not follow function at the county level. And it may be prudent at this stage, Governor Nyong'O, to offload the Kisumu Referral Teaching Hospital to higher entities so that you can release the resources from that level to use them some other health facilities. Because I can't see how this gigantic Kisumu Referral Teaching Hospital, which is a catchment area for more than 14 counties, literally converging at Kisumu, can continue sustaining on county revenue resources. Have you thought of that approach?
In fact, Mr. Chairman,
because I think Jaramogi Oginga Teaching Referral Hospital is so important. It's so important that its management cannot be determined.
The problem is that historically, the conditional grants that had been given to Jaramogi, I remember when I was sitting in that chair, were never released to Jaramogi. And so while waiting to make it a kind of a county parastatal, we continue to finance it because what they need is way beyond the 369 conditional grant. So, and secondly, also to modernize Jaramogi itself so that it can be automated, so that when we leave it alone, it can run its systems efficiently. We are in the process of doing that. And I think sooner rather than later, Jaramogi will be an autonomous institution.
So at the moment, when people pay fees at
categories of revenue that is received from the national government, and they are very specific, like the grants to the
Auditor General?
Chair, as things stand now, there are
No CRF bank statements which were veiled during the audit. They are in Annexure 13 of the supportive documents which we had given and submitted.
Auditor, if the details had not been given, how did you pick the one for Jaramogi Oginga Odinga? 717 million, but entities that received the funds were not is doctored. The number in your financial statements, I'm sure, was fully supported. If we introduce the 5 million now and claim that it was disclosed, then it will lead to a restatement of your financial statements. So you'll have to convince the Auditor General that the 5 million is part of the 800 million that you have reported, the 886 million, failure to which we shall make punitive recommendations. Could we move to the next issue, members?
While Note 8 to the financial statement did not give details of which entities received the funds. Further, included in the transfers figure of Kenya shilling 717,579,546 is Kenya shillings 369,017,342 transferred to Level 5 Hospital, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral. However, no documentary evidence was availed to confirm or acknowledge the receipt of Kenya shillings 369,017,342. Consequently, the propriety of the transfers to other government units of Kenya shillings 707,579,546 could not be confirmed. Thank you.
Governor?
CFO
I will ask for a schedule supporting that. And what the Auditor General is saying that he is satisfied generally with your other on-source revenue, with the exception of the 5 million. It was deducted by checkoff, but it was not applied or it was not disclosed. And the question would be, where is that money sitting? And has it gone to a pocket? Is it sitting in a suspense account? Has it been diverted to another use? We don't have any other evidence for us to arrive at a conclusion different from the fact that this was malfeasance.
Thank you, Chairman. That's why I'm still appealing.
We want to be careful in terms of how things are reported, because we've noted clearly that this issue of bulking figures could be done intentionally so that funds are sort of like lost. So to avoid that, I think, Chair, you should maybe give a direction in terms of the itemization.
Let me rule so that we move on.
2 million is collections from the plot rents within the city, within the county of Kisumu.
And you had nil recovery rates.
Plot, I'm not getting your answer.
The same document which the Senator is referring to. The figure which is empty, look at the figure of 102 million.
Yes.
Look at the cell on top of it. If you look on your left, it says plot rents.
Yeah.
The other one says poll rates.
Yes.
So you've put in this figure of 102. I think the Senator is asking about the rates, because here the only figure which is indicated is one figure, one bulk figure.
Those were the totals.
Okay, they were the totals. In your financial statement, do you just bulk the figures together or do you itemize them? In terms of your charts of account, in terms of your income streams, do you bulk them all together or do you itemize them?
The normal practice is to itemize them, but in this case we...
So then it will be true that there's no way we can ascertain that the 5 million was actually indicated anywhere. That maybe that money could have been
I mean, the Auditor General has already stated that that money could not. Therefore, to make recommendations, not just on surcharge, but probably criminal action against the persons who are responsible for collecting and accounting for this money. The reason why you came to Senate was to say that, okay, the Auditor General did not see it, but here it is, and you have failed. You are telling me to go to the total. You've got a line there on rents, 35.8 million. It is your job to tell me that that 5 million is part of the rent of 35.8 million. And then you provide a schedule to the Auditor General showing your sources of rent. But it's also not my job to tell you how to answer questions that you should have come to the Senate with answers on. So, members, the conclusion we draw is that the 5 million that was collected through checkoff was pocketed, and it has to be recovered, and people have to take responsibility for that.
No, Chairman.
You cannot tell me no without providing any evidence to contradict what the Auditor General has said. So we have 20 other issues ahead of us. That is our ruling. We shall make our recommendations. We proceed. You have not even asked for 7 days to clarify, so we shall close that with that as our recommendation, and we move to the next issue.
Chairman, I request for one more chance that you give us 7 more days to respond on that, kindly.
Senator Olekino?
Yeah. What page is that?
Okay, go all the way in front. Go all the way in front.
In front, okay. Because he was already employed in Nyamira in the area of finance. And by the way, my chief officers are all acting because when we came in, we sent away the chief officers then, and the Public Service Board was not functional, so we have acting people. We are just recruiting chief officers now properly.
Fine. Before I allow Senator Linturi, the Auditor General says that it was not accounted for. Collected, not accounted for.
Rent can be considered others. And rent are the major assets of the county government that are there to generate revenue for the county. And yet when it comes to reporting, then they categorize them as others, if that's the correct auditing report. And that will also do another follow-up question, because you are also talking about ISPAC. When we employ people in such positions, is there a requirement that chief officers will hold a certain qualification?
Senator Ota, those are two very important points. I think on the last, who is financially literate, but the head of Treasury must be a member of ISPAC, and that's why he's required to put his practicing number in these financial statements. I hope, Professor Nyong'O, for your Chief Officer of Finance, you did not put in a fisherman. I'm not looking down on fishermen. I come from the fishing folk, but you put in someone with some financial literacy. Not captured in life forms. Is it captured in the piece of the pie?
Can I just see a photo answer, please? Because I don't collect everything.
Thank you, Chairman. It is very difficult for one to, that's to be realistic, it's very difficult for one to deduct money through IPPD and pocket the money. So the
no, CFO, can you address yourself to the question? 5.3 million was collected as rent.
Yes.
The Auditor General says it was not reported as on-source revenue. Yeah. Where was it reported?
It was reported as other source of revenue. So the problem is that it was not reported exactly.
Why didn't you point that to the auditor at the time of the audit? Because you're not going to confuse us. I will not agree that you're going to confuse us over this 5 million.
For sure, that was a mistake which we have accepted and we have corrected, Chairman.
Yeah. This is not a slap on the wrist kind of issue, Governor. This is money. This is cash. Someone would have used that money to pay school fees for their children.
Yeah.
It was collected cumulatively 5 million. And it cannot be just an issue where we are saying, Poleni, we didn't do it properly, we shall do it properly in future. This money must find its way in the right place, in the right account. Senator Ota.
Money, and we initiated the regular update of the lay form forms to be able to capture the mentioned deductions from the employees which were never captured in the lay forms. Secondly, On the issues of the monies which have not been collected on the house rents is one of the measures which brought us to engage the debt collector, who is already currently doing the collections. So the measures which were not put in place have already been put in place. Thank you.
Again, the same thing. If it's not, these are not measuring up to the standards.
Thank you, Chairman. In the current
house rent, the statement of assets and liabilities reflect nil accounts receivable 316 as at 30th June has not been disclosed under the notes to the financial
this valuation role.
Mr. Chairman, I assure my colleague Professor Ngeri that we're doing our best, and that regarding Kachok, we don't need that billions of shillings to do it. We've already done it. So that is now going to be a new park in Kisumu, so that it negates its past ugliness.
Okay, it's helpful to enable the committee to see things properly. Let's look at this issue on outstanding house rent very quickly.
Then we can use it.
Okay, we have had this even from Mombasa County, from where Senator Faki comes from, that what is owed to the county by various stakeholders, particularly the national government, is enough for Mombasa County to sort out its solid waste management problem. This 9 billion is enough for you to sort out Kachok and other ISOs in the city and make sure that Kisumu is a modern city befitting its status. So I think if there is support required from Parliament, we should know. But most of the initiative needs to come from you as a CEO. Senator Faki, before Governor responds.
I wanted to inquire whether you have passed a valuation for rating act in Kisumu, the assembly, because I have a feeling that is it Cap 267 was repealed as a result of the coming into force of the new constitution. 265. No, 265 is a local government act. There's the valuation for rating act 267, yes.
Okay, what are the legislative measures taken?
Thanks very much. Already the consultants have helped us to develop the rating act for Kisumu County to activate the prepared valuation roll.
So has it been submitted to the assembly?
It's at the assembly level. It has just gone to the executive committee members. So it's going to the assembly so that we have the bill by December. Or January we start the operationalization of the valuation roll.
Fine, so we shall note implementation and progress by end of December. Professor?
Chair, to just make that were captured might have changed substantially as a result of the change in ownership of those properties. So I think you should do more than what you have actually done so far.
Yes, we are doing that, Chair. Actually, this. Now, again, the question comes in that the biggest landowners, let's say if Kenya Airports Authority, Kenya Railways, you find it's a bit tricky because it has to involve some kind of negotiation because they are the biggest defaulters.
Professor?
Chair, you're right. If we had enforcement, proper enforcement, we'll collect quite a bit. The problem we have is that when I came in and we found a public service board which didn't even have manual for human resources management. It was doing a very poor job, and I sent them home. And finally, we recruited a new public service board. Now we are in a position to recruit enforcement officers. The trouble with in recruiting enforcement officers is that you must first do something about your labor force, because if you just recruit enforcement officers in big numbers, you've been swelling the labor force again. So it's a two-way thing, reducing the size of the public service and employing the very necessary human resources that you need. And that's why I was saying at the beginning that we have this problem at the bottom of the civil service. We have people we really don't need, but then they're in big numbers. So shedding them off takes time. Bringing in requisite human resources like enforcement officers is hampered by this already big wage bill. So we have not a very easy situation.